What's up, everybody? This is your boy JT. Welcome to We As Men podcast with my host Reggie Carter, and right now my boy Shamar. While we wait for the big homie Reggie to get on here with us, and so today we're going to talk specifically about: is our success hindered because of systematic racism or oppression? And what that means is do you feel like that there are things in society today that is holding us back from being where we need to be? So we want to get your thoughts. We want you to make sure you get in there, put in the comments your thoughts about this, how you feel about it, what you would want to see differently. And so to start this off, I want to give out a quick definition, right? So that we're all on the same page, right? I think, Shamar, one of the things people need to know is, what do you mean when you say oppression? So
words matter.
Words matter, man. So let's jump into this. Let me define this for you. And I think this is a great definition that needs to be unpacked. So here's the definition of oppression: prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. Prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. Here's another definition that I like: the exercise of authority or power in a burdensome, cruel, or unjust manner, and an act or instance of oppressing, of subjecting to cruel or unjust impositions of or restraints, the state of being mentally, physically, or troubled, adverse. So one of the things that's very powerful about this: prolonged can also mean that you are actually being hindered from being great, or actually hindered from growing, or actually hindered from being able to share where you are and what you're doing and what you're dealing with in life. And side note, roll tide.
All day, every day. Let's go, baby. Roll.
Let's roll
tide. Okay, all right, we here.
Come on, we in there. So I'm gonna read the definition again, because I think it's very important as men that we talk about this. It is something that I find to be necessary for us as men to deal with. When it says the definition of oppression: the exercise of authority or power in a burdensome, cruel, or unjust manner. Another way of saying it is prolonged cruelty or unjust cruelty, or prolonged opportunity. In other words, someone can hold you back from the things that you're trying to accomplish by giving you more of a headache or a challenge in order for you to be successful in the things that you desire to be. So that's what we're talking about today. And so what I want to do is I want us to open up in this conversation, talking through this from a perspective. So let me start out. Fact or fiction? Is there, my brothers, is there oppression today?
Who you want to start with? Reg, me, who?
Listen. Don't be scared, baby. Whoever want to go, let's go.
Read the definition one more time, JT.
I'm gonna read the definition for you one more time: prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. All right. Here's a great analogy of it. Oppression. A few examples of social oppression includes racism, treatment of people different based on the skin of color, sexism. Right. So when we say prolonged oppression, we're talking specifically in this area, because this is our question, right? Is our success hindered by systematic racism and or oppression? Let's go. And I got my whistle on it, today because I coach basketball, so I take that.
You gonna call foul? You gonna call fouls? You gonna call fouls? I can jump in, Smart. And again, my apologies.
Okay.
Jam here, but yeah, I would say yes. Is there oppression today? Yes, it is, and I think it's from a long history of oppression, as far as in this country, from the first ships that first landed in this ship here in this Hampton Roads area that I am currently in here in Virginia. I think it's one of those things where so many statistics and everything else shows that how we as Black people, we're talking about Black men, but as Black people, how there's such a gap and there's so much ground, that has been taken from us that we can't possibly ever make up. And there are so many things that are in place. I think it's and it's gotten more subtle over the years. Of course, not in the days of the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, but I think it's still right here in our face, because there are things today that we would like to try to do and try to accomplish. That there are things that will hinder us. There are certain neighborhoods that we would not be welcome in. There are certain places that we cannot go. We look at so many things as far as like dealing with law enforcement, just to name one. You look at just, healthcare, education, and all those different things like that, how the scales are just weighed so much heavily against us. I would have to say 100% yes.
So you would say yes?
Yes.
Smart.
So here's what I say. I'm going to take a little bit of a different position. Not that I disagree with you, Reggie, but I want to kind of take the position of even if someone says that oppression is not happening, right? I think you could even argue that. I don't know if you'd win, but you could argue it. The point I want to make is that when you look at the wealth gap, whites own 20 times more wealth than African Americans, 18% more, 18 times more than Latinos. So when you look at that, something happened. At some point. There must have been a something that affected African Americans and Latinos compared to whites. There was something that happened in history. When you look back at, I say the 1950s, all of us in here are military vets. All of us have benefited these days from the GI Bill and buying houses under the is that still the GI Bill, right? What is that? VA loan, right?
GI Bill is the education.
Yeah. So GI Bill and VA loan, two benefits that if used properly can literally change your life. For me, it paid for 3 degrees. In the 1950s, African Americans came home from war. People like our parents, right? Our parents' age, they came back home from war and they still couldn't purchase a house. And when they did purchase a house, they couldn't purchase it with the VA loan. And when they did purchase a house, they couldn't purchase it in a predominantly white neighborhood, which were better policed, which were better upkept, which were better standard. So even if you say oppression is not happening, the oppression of the past has put us behind in a place where we're trying to catch up still.
So you would say yes. So I would say oppression is something that's prolonged. I would not say that it's necessarily. Do I sound muffled at all?
No, you good?
Sound clear.
All right. I would not say it's prolonged. I would say it's prolonged. I would also say that it's not the same as it used to be. In other words, I believe that you can be hindered from wanting to be successful, trying to get things done, trying to build a career, trying to make money and take care of your family. I truly believe that those things can happen to you. But I think one of the things that we have made the mistake of is that we have allowed ourselves to feel like it's the end all to be all. It's not the end all to be all. I mean, at the end of the day, I know that there is somebody who can hinder me, right? But they can't stop me permanently. Does that make sense? Because you got to remember,
that makes sense.
It's cruelty or it's prolonged, and it can be both. It can be both. Cruelty and prolonged was slavery.
Agreed.
Prolonged is what we deal with today. In other words, that I might get redlining for a business. I might not be able to get the loan from a certain bank, but I might go to another bank and it might look at my credit score, and then somebody might feel like if we deny this man, we might get in trouble for it. So I don't think that is something that they can stop us from doing for a long, long period of time. I think it's something that we go through consistently where we have to trust the process that success could still happen. Because that's something that nobody wants to deal with. Like racism is real, bro.
Right.
Racism is real. It is one of those things where you're going to feel the pressure of wanting to be better and knowing there's somebody who's trying to hinder you from being better. Y'all agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
They can't stop you, but they can hinder you. I truly believe somebody can hinder you.
Right.
So go ahead. What y'all was gonna say?
I wanted to ask both of you a question. Tell me share the first time you experienced racism. What was that like for you?
First time I experienced racism.
Yeah, that point where you knew, okay, the stuff you heard about. Oh yeah, that's real. That's a real thing. Racism is real because I feel it right now. What was that like? What was that story for you?
Man. I think for me, again, growing up in Alabama, a real small town, Vincent, Alabama. Shout out to all my VHS Yellow Jackets back there, class of '92. We coming up, 30 years, baby. We're gonna do our thing.
He said, "Okay."
Yeah. Gotta give a shout out to my people. Growing up in that small town in Alabama, I think I've seen a lot of subtle things over the years. Some things that was experienced more so by some of my classmates, some of my friends, things of that nature. I think for me personally, I think the biggest slap for me was actually when I was in the military, and when I got stationed here in the Hampton Roads area. I remember standing out in front, standing on the pier, me and some friends, getting ready to go out for the day or whatever, there in front of our ship, got our civilian clothes on, standing there, and a car rolled by. Some white guys threw like some water, some stuff at me, yelled out, N-word, and kept moving. You know what I'm saying? This had to be, I got stationed here in 95. So this was like 95, 96. You know what I'm saying? And the rage that I had, I literally ran to my car because my car was like right there, jumped in my car and literally was like chasing them around the base, like just following them around the base. I didn't at the time, I didn't have a weapon or anything like that. I did have something in the car, but it was just like, I was just the whole time just wondering, what am I going to do when I catch up to these cats? You know what I'm saying? It was just so, that was like up close and personal in my face. You know what I'm saying? So that was it for me. That was back in 95.
Yeah, that's real. Wow, 95.
But you was ready to change lives then, Reg?
Oh man, look, I was like, yo, it's whatever. We'll just go for it. You know what I'm saying? It was like, yo, and the more I rode around, like going behind these guys. There was about 3 guys in the car, and I was by myself. So it was, at that time, I just ran off from my friends and stuff. But I think it was just like, okay, what are you gonna do when you catch up with these guys? You got this big bat-like club thing in here. Like, are you gonna like try to just go at these guys or whatever, this, that, and the other, and just voice of reason just took over at the end. You know what I'm saying? But man, I was hot for a long time.
I'm just curious why you had a bat-like club in your car, just because?
It was actually it used to be a because I used to be in the presidential ceremonial guard, so it was like a long fashioned. It was like a bar, but it had like 2 big nubs on the end. I used to use it to kind of practice. You know what I'm saying? So I still had that like in my vehicle. So and man, I was going. Yeah, so that was it for me.
So JT, he was gonna beat him with government property.
Go for it, baby. We're gonna lose it all that day.
For me, it was first time I was in the Navy. It was for me too. Being a New Yorker, growing up in New York City, I never had racism, happen to me. Nobody really disrespect me. I never forget. I got my license, right? 21 years old, driving in Norfolk off of what's that main road on Norfolk? Little Creek Road.
Yeah.
I was driving on Little Creek Road. And you know how you're supposed to pull over to the right when the car is screaming and coming through? Like when the police is coming through. Well, I got nervous. I pulled to the left. And he kept honking and he stayed behind me. He stayed behind me the whole time. And then I finally pulled. Then he said, pull over to the right, you stupid, blah, blah, blah. And I pulled over to the right. And he said, it just so happened to be another dumb N-word.
Wow.
He took, my window was up. He thought my window was down. And he's like, I got to go to a site. And he spit tobacco all over my window. but he meant to spit in my face. The other officer that was with him in the car was like, yo, you bugging right now. You can't do that. And I'm in shock because I never experienced racism. So I'm sitting there like, I'm looking at him, and he looked at me and he could see, because that was when my New York accent was much more heavy at the time. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, my bad, yo. He's like, oh, this N-word ain't even from here. They jumped in the car and pulled off and went to a crime scene. It was the most terrifying thing I did. The crazy thing is, I saw that fool the next day in a grocery store in Virginia Beach. He looked at me, I looked at him, and I said, he had on his old military hat. He was a vet. I said, okay, top of the morning to you, shipmate. And I kept it moving. And he was like, oh, you in the Navy? And he tried to have a conversation with me. It was the weirdest thing I ever experienced in my life. Shamar, you?
Yeah, probably around 91, 92. I was living in Durham, North Carolina. And, like you, JT, I'm from New York. And if I know racism existed there, but it was different, right? Because I was the black one. Across from us lived the Jamaicans. Next to us, and she was Asian. Down the street was Big Mike. He was Puerto Rican, right? So it was really a melting pot. So, it was really hard to experience black and white, right? I went in a grocery store. It's called Town and Country in Durham, North Carolina, and I go in there and, I got my own little money. I'm all excited. So I'm buying some candy or something. And I grab the candy and I'm looking at it. I'm searching around, get my candy, go up to the front. And he was like, boy, take that candy out your pocket. I know you're stealing. Something like that, right? Real country. Yeah. Yeah, it was real. And I ain't have nothing. And then he made me leave the store. He was like, "Get out of here," and I left. I didn't know what to do. Maybe I was 12, maybe 13. I walked up there by myself with my own little money. Was excited. Now my mom, who's from New York, came up there and wore him out, and we never went to that store again until it became a different name under new owners. And then later, as I talked to other people, I wasn't the only one who had that experience. And so I didn't understand what it was then. My mom did, and she explained it to me later. But yeah, that was my first touch of racism when I was accused of stealing. I don't think I've ever stolen anything in my life. I cheated on a test in the 11th grade once, but I just didn't do things like that. Right. One time, I got caught. It was bad.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think that we have that high level of racism today?
That's a great question.
Do we have it? Go ahead, Jamal.
Yeah, that it's an interesting and challenging question because I think it depends on where you live, how blatant it is, and how many people are blatantly there. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Charlotte is very progressive, very contemporary city. I think of it as like Atlanta in '96 before the Olympic money hit, right?
So go ahead.
So inside the city, not real blatant. But when you go 30 miles north, east, west, or south, oh yeah, it's there. I mean, I don't always see it because I'm not always there, and for 2 years I really haven't traveled that far. But yeah, you see it outside of the city. Absolutely.
Would you say it's racism or would you say it's prejudice?
That's a good question. So again, I think words matter. Mm-hmm. And I think definitions matter. So why don't you give us some clarity? You want to give us some clarity on the difference?
Am I free? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So the difference for me is the very fact that racism is you think you're better than me. Mm-hmm. But the prejudice that I feel like that we receive today is more about it's more about I fear you and I think you're a bad person. I don't like you. I don't want to be around you. I think the stories of you are deeper and darker.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Racism is I think I'm better than superior. Prejudice is I just don't think you're worth anything. Because people said you're bad. You know, I've seen you guys on TV. I've heard about how you do things in the rap videos, in the movies. There is a lot of stigmatisms that are placed on Black people.
Yeah.
A great example of that is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's statement. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said, we're perpetuating a narrative, which I know, I think we talked about this before. I hate that. I think it was one of the worst things you could say about us as an African-American, because that means that we have to make sure we keep a standard that make white people feel comfortable because they already have a negative image of us as Black people. In other words, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was mad at Will Smith for slapping Chris Rock on stage, saying that that's perpetuating a narrative of Blacks when we know white people have done worse and Black people have done worse besides slap somebody on the stage. So one is racism. The other one is prejudice. Racism is you think you're better. Prejudice is narratives, prejudgment of you as an African-American. So what would y'all say to that? Would y'all say it's more racism or more prejudice? Which is a great question.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question. I don't know if I can say there's one more or the. I don't know if I would lean more one way than the other. I will say that in the last couple of years, many things that people believed have been normalized, and they've said it out loud. That's become a thing. But yeah, I don't know if I can lean one way or the other.
Why
when
can't
I go outside the city? What do you think, Reg?
Well, I think I mean today you have more. I think you have more people that are in positions where racism, can be felt more. When you look at doing some little research and stuff and talking about people in our government and things of that nature, amount of millionaires and this, that, and the other. So because we understand that racism with that, it's like, okay, you actually have the power to kind of change some stuff. You know what I'm saying? You actually have some influence to be able to do that. And not to say this just because they are millionaires, but there's what was the percentage? It was some absurd percentage. There's over 200 millionaires that's in Congress, right? Over 200, like about 223, I think, somewhere around there. That's in Congress. Those people that have a direct can make some serious impact and influence over my day to day. You know what I'm saying? Same thing as far as people that's in my local community here, right here, and where I am. When you start to see, I think with the racism piece, with the things that they're passing, the laws and stuff that they're trying to pass, the issues and the bills that they bring to the floor and stuff like that. Yeah. Those are those things for me that say, okay, yeah, racism is still definitely going on. The whole the voter registration things, the things where they're trying to suppress votes and things of that nature. Like, absolutely, I say racism is definitely still going on because those are things. That's not just you being prejudiced. You know what I'm saying? That's racism because it's like you're in a position where you can actually have influence over a whole group of people, and you're doing things strategically to try to suppress or oppress a certain group of people. You know what I'm saying? Black, brown people, Black people, we'll say. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so I would say, yeah, racism is definitely still very, 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 very much prevalent.
Yeah. What do you think, JT?
I think there's more prejudice than racism. And I think more racism is old people. I don't think it's the younger generation. I think old Blacks and whites are making war, and these young kids are making babies. By 2040, majority of the African American children in the United States will literally be born of a, how do you say this? They'll literally be born of a mixed parent. 2040, 51% of people in the United States will be mixed. So if you asking me what I think we're on our way to a whole nother level of building differently. Like I got nieces and nephews mixed. Like my wife, 3 other sisters, 2 white guys, a black guy, and a Puerto Rican. So we're a different melting pot. If you look now, there are more kids in this country that are mixed than they are just one race. So,
yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, yeah. You know, the more I think about it as I listen to you guys, I think I kind of agree with you on that. Right? There's racism in place, right? Which is a lot of the laws that they're pushing to pass, gerrymandering, all that kind of stuff. But individually, there's a lot more prejudice, right? There's a lot more people who are prejudiced or who are sharing their normalized beliefs from the last 4 years or 5 years. So that's I think how I would put it. Kind of sum up both of your words.
Yeah, I don't think it's going nowhere. I think we're dealing with a place where a lot of people are just, they don't want to admit that they're racist, but they know they are. Older heads, the younger people don't think like that. Younger people think more directly about, which I think is even weird. I'm going to tread softly when I say this. I think younger people do a lot more white guilt and do a lot more white savior.
White, what was that last name?
White savory?
White savior.
Savoring. Yeah,
Savior.
white savoring. I'm just adding letters onto it. Savoring in this.
No, they think they can save us.
Yeah.
Y'all don't think so?
Oh.
I'm thinking about that.
Listen, brother.
Yeah. So yeah, JT, I'd add to that. I think in the process of becoming aware, right? Because let's just be honest, there's some people of an age that's a little older than us that they're not going to become aware. They're not going to do anything different. They're like, listen, I'm too old a hog to be called a pig, right? As my grandma would say, it just is what it is. So they're not going to do anything. But the younger generation is reading more, is trying to understand. And I think part of that process sometimes is I can help, which means I can save, which means I'm going to go to action, and that's what I'm going to try to do. I wouldn't say that's where they always end up, but I would say that can be part of the process depending on what you're reading.
So let's be more specific. You don't think there's a white savior complex with the younger generation?
I think some of them do. But I think that may be a necessary step for some people as they transition, as they listen more, as they learn more, to realize, no, I can't save, but I can help. I can be a part of the process.
So they got to start out my savior?
No. I said for some, that's where they start. Not for all. But I think some do start there in the process of learning. You know, I don't want to overuse the word woke, but what it looks like to be woke in this generation.
I hate that word now. I'm starting to hate the word woke.
Yeah,
I was never asleep, so I was never woke. I don't understand. Let's keep it a buck with me. My biggest issue. Go ahead.
I was just my first experience started at 12, 13. So I didn't have to be woke. I knew what it was and learned what it was back then. So, like you said, I don't need to be woke if I was asleep.
So do you believe there's prejudice, Reg, or do you believe it's just?
I mean, yeah, of course there's prejudice. I mean, when people say, yeah, we all like prejudice to a certain extent, blah blah blah, this that and the other. Like, yeah, but I think some of the things that and I can't even say that for us is necessarily prejudice for a sense. If you have a history of treating a certain people a certain kind of way, when you encounter those people and you kind of see it, is it necessarily prejudice? Okay, when you for someone, not talking about myself, but I'm saying just in general, like if someone has repeated bad encounters or see bad encounters with with law enforcement or or with people in the school system or something like that? Like, are they prejudiced, or are they just basing it off of their experiences and just what they kind of have seen? So it's kind of like it's almost I won't say necessarily trauma, but it's just like, okay, this is what I come to believe when I encounter this, because I've seen it, time and time and time again. So maybe when I meet this person on this time or encounter them this time, this is the 10th time, and maybe it's not, it won't be the same. But I think for me, it would be like, it's a little bit of wisdom. Is it prejudice? I mean, it's somewhat, okay, I need to learn from past experiences and kind of shape, how I feel about you. Does that mean I need to go and look at every person because I had 10 bad encounters? So the 11th person I need to kind of treat a certain kind of way? For me, I think you should. I mean, it's kind of smart in a sense. You can kind of be guarded. I'll say it like that. You can be guarded.
If you call me can y'all hear me well? I'm making sure.
Yeah. Not as good as I did before, but
not as good as before.
Yeah, when we started out, you were a lot. You were like
clearer
in stereo.
Robust.
Yeah.
I was robust.
You were more robust. I like that word.
So let me say it this way. There is no part of me that trusts
Can you hear me better now?
Clearer. Yeah.
Huh?
You sound clearer.
I sound what?
Clearer.
You think so?
Yeah. I think so. I don't think it matters either way.
Yeah. Go ahead, bro. Oh, now, you all the way out now, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, you muted yourself, Jay.
Yeah, you went MIA with the mute button. You still muted.
Okay, so I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep, that's good. That's
way
good.
better. Okay. So let me say it this way. If you are a white savior, you're a prejudice to me. Because if you have a prejudgment about the fact that you need to save me in order for me to be valued, you automatically think there's a need that you as a white person have to speak for me. As a white person has to validate me, have to help me. It's also the same thing it's also the same thing when I have a white friend say to me, I'll say something for you, JT. Because the way they were talking to you, because another white person say something and they were like, I'll speak up for you. And I'm like, I'm good. I don't even think what they said was prejudice or racist. Well, I just think you need somebody to say it. Just bothered me. You don't understand. I know what a white person is doing. No. You're doing the most right now. And there is this need to feel like my words don't have value. A white man will give me a platform, but he might not let me lead. He might let me preach, but he might not let me lead. He might let me entertain, but he might not let me have ownership. He might let me vent, but he might not cause change. So what I'm noticing today is acknowledgement that has caused us to feel as if I need to be validated by a white person, instead of you just respecting me as your equal. So you're either saving me or trying to sell me, and I just don't like it.
I think I can say that, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I hate that that's been your experience. I can say that hasn't been my experience, and I think that's the difference. And I was thinking about what you said with the lead piece, right? Say that part again about he'll let you what, but won't let you lead.
He'll let me preach, but he won't let me lead.
Yeah.
He'll let me vent, but he won't let me lead. He might even let me entertain, but he might not let me leave. See, one of the things that people will do is, it's one thing, people, I don't no longer want to sit at the table.
Mm-hmm.
I want equity at the table.
Right.
There's a big difference.
Right.
So you sit there, that's tokenism. That's a prop.
Yeah.
But if I have the equity, I have a real voice that if I say something, you're going to take it in consideration and actually do something with it. That's totally different.
Right.
We don't have that. And I know that's a tough thing to say because a lot of people say that. Like, I'm even offended by the fact that you said that's my experience. That's a lot of Black people experience. I know that's not what you meant. I know that's not what you meant.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I hate that was your experience, right? And for any Black person, I hate that's their experience. Right. That should not be the experience. Again, back to Reggie's point, he said this last week, in a fallen world, we're going to have experiences that reflect this fallen world. And, racism is just one way.
Can we have a real conversation? You're saving me because of my color. Think about what I'm saying now. Okay. You feel the need to save me because I'm Black. You feel the need to speak for me because I'm Black. My words as a Black man or a Black woman is not good enough on its own. It needs your stamp of approval. Think about what I'm saying. Like, if you think about society today, we have even been conditioned to fight to be in white spaces where we can actually be owners.
Talk about like the NFL. Oh, the NFL. By the way, do you guys think Cap will be back as we talk about racism and white spaces and places?
Do I think he'll be back?
Yeah.
I think he's at the point where he wants to come back, but I don't think it'll happen. Me personally, I don't. I'm
trying to figure out why we asking this question.
Because I'm just curious. Because you talk about white spaces and places.
No, I don't. Listen, should he be back in the NFL? He should have been back in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
Will he get a chance to be back in the NFL? I don't know. Because I think we live in a society today where people won't validate your greatness if you don't play the game. Because him taking a knee has nothing to do with him throwing a football. There ain't 32 quarterbacks in the NFL better than him. It ain't.
We know that, yeah.
All right, then. So what we're looking at right now is just how the world has been. Like, the world has been towards racism instead of equality. That's just the reality of it. Like, I can walk in a room, sit in first class. The first option is not for me to be a preacher.
You do kind of look like a ball player. You do. I'm just saying. You kind of, like a linebacker. I'm saying, man, you taller than me. That's all.
Whatever.
I think you touched on the thing though, Jay, as far as like having that voice at the table. I work in the nonprofit realm, so it's crazy when I look at the percentage of prominent white donors versus Black donors. And in the nonprofit world, it's like, hey, look, it's who's moving the mission forward. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's not a place for me to really be. Hey, look, your dollars are just as good. You know what I'm saying? But it does always. It amazes me when I look at the white people that give and their motives for giving. I don't know what their motives are. You know what I'm saying? But I know that they do. Is that whole I'm trying to save, I'm trying to save all these, these disadvantaged people or these people who I think are, in a bad situation because it's crazy, man. But I mean, I do think some of it may be deep deep seated as far as like maybe a little bit of, I won't necessarily say guilt, but just something like, hey, we want to try to do something because they know. I think it's so many people that know. I think there's not many people in this country that don't know that there has been major injustices and things aren't on a level playing field as far as with blacks and whites. I mean, how many people would like just openly admit it and just say that, you know, as a white person, how many will just say it? Yeah, there's some that will say it, but you know, but there's some that just will try to talk all around it and try to give all these other reasons and this, that, and the other, instead of just saying something that's just so blatantly in your face. It's like, how could you give me any other answer?
Okay, so let's look at this from this standpoint. I do not think that we really build legacies as blacks because we spend too much time trying to be validated by whites. And I think our biggest problem is we don't know how to work together. We spend more time waiting for other people to help us. I'm not waiting for a white person to rescue me. I'm waiting for me to do the work that I need to do and also look at my brothers that are across from me to build with me. I could find white people that would be willing to give to my nonprofit faster than I can people that look just like me. So it's a double-edged sword. The whites will give me money because they feel we ain't never gonna make it and we need it. But the blacks won't give to it because they're like, well, ain't nobody help me. Why should I help you? We got crabs in the barrel while we see white folk as lobster. I just think it's stupid. I think it's one of those things where we just do not allow ourselves to be successful. We don't allow ourselves to grow and build and trust the process with greatness.
Right.
So for me, it's never a case of that everybody's racist, because I do not believe that. It's more of a case that, do you trust what your gifts are? And do you trust that people will support it? Like I became an entrepreneur out of fear of being fired and canceled. Because I don't think there's value for me in your room. If I'm not a janitor, a token, right? Security, a rapper, a drug dealer, a football player, a basketball player. What value do you see me as a black man? If I'm a doctor, you'll tell me, well, can somebody else come in here and look at me? Black doctors go through that all the time. Both of my sister-in-law's a doctor. She goes through that. My brother's a doctor. He goes through that. Not my biological, but one of my brothers. Those are facts, man. If I sit in first class, the only thing you see me as is an athlete, and I'm suited and booted, and you still think I'm a gangster rapper, something weird, man. Why is our mindset never expanded towards us being anything other than a criminal? And white people think they have a better relationship with black people. Even on the current place where I work at right now, there are white guys on their job that think they know more about blacks than I do. It's amazing to me. And this is the thing that y'all don't understand. We are funded by wealthy whites, but lack resources from wealthy blacks to work in black neighborhoods.
So why do you think that is?
Because we complain more than we care.
So you're saying we talk a good game, but don't back it up with dollars and cents?
Well,
that was a question.
Said, what was the question again?
Oh, I said, so you said we talk a good game, but we don't back it up with dollars and cents.
No, I think black people do give to a certain extent, but I think there are a lot of us that could do better working together, but we don't. We don't. And I'm about to test the waters. I'm about to test the waters for the next 8 months on raising funds for We as Men to see what they would do to help these young boys that we have in the city.
Yeah.
I would even go as far as to say there is more trust for a white man than it is a black man to run an organization. Because when I look at, and I'm not going to use any of our organizations, but when you look at certain organizations, the higher you go up, the whiter the person. And the older the person is. And then when you get higher up, we good for the field. We good to be the first ones on the line dealing with the inner city kids. They like our black connection when we dealing with the poorest. But when we're in the top office saying, let's create quality schools, instead of us having us to rent schools and getting big donors, how about we build a school and put our Black kids in an environment where they can go there every day? After school programs ain't gonna keep a kid forever. We can't do that. That's too much. You're reaching for the stars. You're not taking care of it. And then you have, I can't use names. I say I'm gonna work on not using names because I know it's a challenge for both of my brothers over here. So I'm not gonna use no name. So you get somebody who get a big donation. He's talking about he gonna open the school and it never opens. That causes more distrust with us. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? So I go there. So he's like, and my people need to have their own education. I'm gonna buy this building. We got to separate ourselves from the white man. And he giving all these speeches. And then it's like 8 years later, school never opened.
I never knew a school didn't open. Yeah. I never kept up with that, brother. I followed him as far as I.
But do you understand? But
again,
the point is, we don't do the work to help one another. We do the work of blaming one another. We do the work of begging one another to go beg the other to help one another. Like I don't understand if y'all really see what I'm saying here. It's like being an African American. I want to stick on our time, but being an African American male at the age, tomorrow I'll be 46. That's why my cash app in. You can send it to me. I ain't shameless about it. It's my birthday weekend. We about to turn up. But anyway, so you'll see somebody do something for somebody else and won't do something for their own brother. Think about that. If I can work a job for a nonprofit that is ran predominantly by whites and a black person as a black person, and I'll be able to do the labor, but I might not necessarily be the person that'll turn around and be the president.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm curious what Reggie your thoughts on that.
Yeah, because I'm like, man, he just asking me like, yeah, just go ahead and just say something on that. Seeing, kind of fall in that category as far as like working in a nonprofit, working with youth and things of that nature. Again, it comes back to what I was saying before. It's like I look at our top donors. Our top donors are Caucasian. You know what I'm saying? They're white. It is what it is. I think it's one of those things where when we look over time, and what we do the same thing in some instances. It's like, who are you most comfortable with? All right. If I got a room of people and the room is 8 white, 2 black. All right. 8 white, 2 black. When they ask, okay, who's going to be the leader of this group? How many times will it be? It'll be the black person. Sometimes it would be because maybe that person is, a great communicator or something like that, but that's on a small scale. But it's okay. That's like doing like a group.
Because they're what? They're what? A great what?
Communicator.
Oh. Not leader, but communicator.
Oh, it could be leader. Yeah, it could be leader. I mean, I said that.
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah. But I mean, I think part of it too, though, Jay, is we have to find ways. This wealth gap, that we talking about, because some of that stuff is like we have to work. And you said it, and I was so glad you were saying it because I was thinking about that earlier today. It's like, we just have got to work together. You know what I'm saying? That gap is not. I mean, this article right here, it says 2016 article entitled "Black Wealth Hardly Exists Even When You Include NBA, NFL, and rap stars." Related recent findings, this is 2016, of the Corporation for Economic Development and the Institute for Policy Studies, which calculated that it would take 228 years for the average black family to amass the same level of wealth the average white family holds today in 2016.
Yeah.
228 years, including rappers, including NBA people, NFL, including all those people. 228 years. You know what I'm saying? We as Black people, we're doing much better than what we've been doing, of course. Mm-hmm. But as far as like us as a whole having that wealth to be able to make those moves and not have to go and beg and this, that, and the other, that's part of the solution right there. We got to work together, just like when we see when different people from other countries come to this country, and they all like stay together and they open up a shop and everybody is in there together and nobody really breaks loose until everybody's able to go and do their thing. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to do it. We have to become more, financially and economically, educated, start at an early age, teaching our kids about building wealth, about being entrepreneurs, about investing, about all these things, man, because until we get more, economic equity, we're not going to have those seats at the table that we want, or even to be able to create our own tables because, when you got 10, I need 10 people to get to 1 million. I need 10 people to come up with 1 million. Well, this person has 10 million. So when I get the million, okay, who's going to be the spokesperson that's going to speak for this million that I have? You know what I'm saying?
So when you say that, my answer to that is that we're not taught to pursue money. We're not taught to do generational wealth. We're not taught to be multimillionaires. We're not taught to be business owners. We are taught to get a job, work hard, and go home. And I want to say this, that I think people do not say enough. Black people do hope. White people do expectation. Black folk, I hope I make money. I hope I get paid. I hope I get a good business. I hope I have a job. I hope they don't fire me. I hope I get a raise. White people have an expectation. I better get a raise. I'm getting a raise this week. I'm going to be treated better this week. I'm going to start my business and people are going to support it. I just expect to do well. If I work hard, it'll come through. Black people have a thought of, if I do well, I'm still not guaranteed to be successful. Unless, see, nobody likes to say this because I sound harsh. But if you playing ball, you have an expectation to be a millionaire. If you rapping, you have an expectation to be a millionaire. But if you want to be a business owner, you don't have that expectation. If you want to be a doctor, you don't have that expectation. We don't even celebrate that. See, we can spend all day criticizing white people and all that other kind of stuff, but it really starts with our own community. We don't think that way. We don't put our dollars together. An Asian family will sit in the house together, and them jokers will all stay in that house until that Chinese restaurant take off and start flying off the handle. And in that Chinese family, you'll get kids who are going to doctor, that's becoming a doctor. One is going to law school. They move here with the intentions of the next generation doing well, and they keep the same habit. Everybody, every nationality, every ethnic group has its flaws, but they do that. A whole Mexican family. People think Mexicans are stupid. Those people are brilliant. They will start a lawn care business. Everybody will live in the same house. They will split that house. Everybody move in another house, and then they'll branch out and start generating wealth. It's in their DNA because it's something that's a tradition for the family. A Nigerian family, let's use a Nigerian family that does not live in the United States of America. They will build generational wealth. They will come here and then call us lazy. What I would say is Americans fight more for, what's the word? What is the word? Y'all know the word if I said it. Reparations than build a corporation. I'd rather fight for a corporation than reparations. They owe us money. I ain't got time. That's the same thing as waiting to be accepted into space now. We need to do the work. We need to do the work. I had to make a decision. If we as men is going to get off the ground, I got to bust my butt. I got to put the work in.
Kim Kardashian said people should bust their butt. She said that. Just want to throw that out.
And she used her butt.
Yeah.
But again, I hit you with one more thing here. The Fed's data on U.S. household wealth shows that there is no measure by which Americans of color come anywhere close to the wealth owned by white Americans, a paradigm that has held for centuries. In the final quarter of 2019, white Americans held 84.2% of U.S. assets. Black Americans held 4.8%. White Americans hold 85.5% of the country's net worth. Black Americans, 4.2%. You know what I'm saying? Shout out real quick to the Wealth Squad. My man, Chris Johnson, all those people on there that's doing big things. I joined this group real recently, and it's just a group of people. Chris Johnson, he's a young black brother. He's 30 years old. He's a multimillionaire. You know what I'm saying? He was in the military, started his own business. Now he do invest in just everything. He got this platform where people up there, all different races. You know, it's a lot of black people that's up there. But, you know, just talking about building wealth from different things, investing, all this other kind of stuff, man. So,
what does he do?
What does he do? Dude, he's an investor. He does a little bit of everything, man. He buys real estate. He does crypto. He does stocks. He does trading. He's got a platform that got tens of thousands of people. You know, he sells digital learning courses and things of that nature. Does a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? So he's got
my reason for asking that is that we got into the weeds of the detail. The question is, when you look at those numbers, he's not an anomaly. He's just somebody who decided to do the work.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times you don't see enough of us willing to do the work, willing to get on the grind to make things happen so that we could be successful financially.
Mm-hmm.
I made a decision, and I'll say for me, I'm blessed to work with people and do stuff, but entrepreneurship is a big part of my life. And I made a decision these next 8 months, I'm gonna build something out. I'm not getting mad. I'm not holding grudges. I'm just gonna build it out. And I say that to say this: what has to happen with us as Black men, I'm gonna say specifically as Black men, we have to lead our kids and lead the next generation on generational wealth. Mm-hmm. We have to start teaching them what it looks like to have that type of income, build that type of financial structure. And I'll be even far as to say, we all know that 50% of men in America, the majority of men in America make $50,000 a year. The African-American male makes less than $42,000 a year. Mm-hmm. The African-American woman makes $37,000 a year. Yeah. So when you see all these people on television balling and telling you that they got a lot of money and I ain't dating this person and I ain't dating that person, they make pretty decent money compared to the rest of the world. But the reality is that ain't the average. So if everybody in their neighborhood takes care of their lawn, you would say that neighborhood has nice lawns. If everybody took care of their kids and taught their kids financial wealth, everybody in that neighborhood would have wealth. The Jewish community cross-pollinated. They talk to each other. They hire each other kids. They give each other jobs. We are the community that needs to start doing the same thing. If I am in the field and Reggie's son is good at something and he wants to get in the field, I'm hiring him because that's us growing our family business. If he wants to be a business owner, I'm going to hire him. You know what I'm saying? If Shamar is a great coach and my son says, Dad, I want to be a life coach. I want to be a business coach. Okay, go work for Mr. Shamar. And I have an expectation that he's going to start my son at the bottom and work and let him work his way up and give him an opportunity. And nobody likes this when I say this, but they will want to. I've heard white people say, well, Black people are just trying to take all the jobs. We only make up 13% of this country.
Right.
So that's stupid. That's not real. The other thing that nobody talks about is that the Hispanic community is coming here in the droves. They coming and they working. They working. We complaining. We get mad. We holding grudges. Like, I'll tell you right now, if I want to be a multimillionaire, I ain't worrying about what nobody thinks. Now, mind you, I've made some big strides with lawn care and other things that made me realize, oh, it's doable. Oh, it's very doable. The problem is that we are very lifestyle versus hard work. Money to the ear, rings and watches and clothes. So we only working to be flashy. We not really working to bring. We trying to be rich. We ain't trying to be wealthy. Wealthy is something you work towards for the rest of your family and generations.
Yeah.
You know, I know I was on my soapbox about it, but that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Just I said a lot, but am I wrong?
I'll let you get that one, Shamar.
Well, the question that comes up, not whether you're wrong or not, but what is the percentage of Black millionaires?
Ooh.
I think Reggie knows that number. Excuse me.
Yeah,
I got that number. Of the millionaires that's in the United States, there's actually 8%.
8%.
8%.
That's a big number, bro.
It is. It is.
Big number.
8%.
It's not the greatest number, but it's a big one now. There's one like that back in the day.
Absolutely not. And
like 0.00.
You know, I think there's a generation and a class of people who are, you know, money to the ears, and I think those are people who probably need to have more conversations with the 8%, who really need to teach them. Though you have money, you don't have financial. You may not have financial literacy. Though you have money, a couple of dollars, a couple of cents, and maybe some paper trapped between the dollars that you put into your ear. You don't really understand money, and I think that's the kind of so one of the things I think you were saying, JT, without like blatantly saying it, is we need to continue to educate ourselves, right? The parents need to educate the kids, and the millionaires need to push to educate, hopefully educate those who are who are walking around like they're millionaires, but they're really thousandaires, right? So they can turn their thousandaires into so they can turn their thousands into millions, and then help more people, or at minimum help their own family grow and go and be better.
Here's the thing: in the United States of America, if somebody worked hard enough, they could make $1 million. You make $1 million over a lifetime working a job.
Mm-hmm.
You make $1 million over a lifetime working a job. Mm-hmm. The question is, can you get to the 10,000 a month, the 20,000 a month, the 30,000 a month? People don't work towards those goals. You know what I'm saying? Like they really don't. Like, I am literally taking the next window of these 8 months to just, and y'all know me, I've done it before, but you know, church, oh, you're not at the church long enough, you ain't putting in more hours and da-da-da. While the brother ain't pastoring. It is gonna be what it's gonna be. But that's me. Because I hate going, hey man, can I get $250 for a tournament for my kids? Oh, I ain't got $250. You got on Jordans that cost $300. Oh man, let me help out with the kids. You just paid for rims. They still buying rims. Right? So like there is this thing. There's a lot of blaming and not enough grinding. So I'm saying we need to grind more instead of blame more. Just like working on this platform. I know it's not going to grow overnight, but I'm gonna work it. You know what I'm saying? I know at the end of the day, I want We As Men to be one of the largest conferences for men in the country. It ain't gonna happen overnight. I'm gonna work it. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that I just think that we spend more time complaining and we don't have concentrated work. We have general dreams. I want to get a Benz. I want to get this. I want to get that. But there's not concentrated work. Like if I asked you what Steve Harvey do, you're gonna tell me Steve Harvey is a daggone host. If I ask you what Denzel Washington do, you're gonna say Denzel's an actor. If I ask you what LeBron do, you're gonna tell me he's a great basketball player. One of the things that have a problem with us as African Americans, we don't work on our skills.
Yeah.
And we don't trust them either. Again, a white man will expect, a black man will hope. Unless we playing sports and entertaining. Like, think about it. You can call women hoes and all this other kind of stuff and become a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do. And I think one of the things we haven't mentioned is so you can have education, right? You can build wealth. But when you start talking about, okay, 10,000 a month times 12, 120,000, okay, 13,000 times per month, times whatever is this much. When you start thinking about that, you're talking about mindset shift. And a lot of times we don't have the people around us to help us shift our mindset. And I'll even speak for myself and throw myself out here. There was a question asked because Van Jones just got what is it, 100 mil from Jeff Bezos to do good in the world. He has 10 years to spend it. And I was at the TD Jakes International Leadership Summit, and so the question was asked: if somebody gave you 100 mil, would you know what to do with it? Could you put the infrastructure in place? Could you spend it within 10 years and do great good? 9 months ago, I couldn't. I'd be like, nah, I don't know what to do with that. That's a lot of money. I wish I had it, but I wouldn't know what to do with it. But within the last 6 months, we're kind of working with some of these guys named Corey and Twan, these guys on my marketing team. I can actually say, yeah, I know exactly what to do with that. I know how to build the infrastructure. I know who I would hire. I know what systems I would use. I know all the things that not all the things that I need to know, but I know a lot. I know the majority, and what I don't know, I'm gonna hire the right person to bring that knowledge in because my mindset has changed from, okay, let's make $7,000 a month, and that's good, to which is let me provide a service and make good money, to let me build an organization where I'm no longer coaching anymore, but I'm brokering deals, right? I'm brokering deals over here. I'm brokering deals over there. I'm meeting with this person. I'm meeting with that person. And now I'm employing people and I'm paying them and I'm paying for their kids' college and things like that. But that's a mindset shift. And I'm 44 and that's happening to me. So there's a lot of people who, money to the ear, they don't have the right mindset to be successful in the arena, that they don't have the right mindset to be successful, so they can take that next step, so they can move to the next level. And that takes being around people who have vision that's bigger than you, right? And that's something that we have to continue to do, is be around people who have bigger vision than us.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the biggest things for me is the next steps of it, because we talked about oppression. I think oppression is something that can be prolonged but not stopped. So we all agree with that. I think there's more prejudice than racism in the world. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you can't put me back in chains. We'll tear this place up. We'll tear this place up. We all know that. So that's not the goal. And then there is a fear because of, the largest demographic in this country is going to be minorities. It's not going to be whites. So that does bring about a fear. I get that. And because the people you oppress are the people who are now going to challenge you, right? They're going to have something to say about how you treat them. So we've come to the conclusion that there is work that needs to be done. There is things that we need to see that's done differently, right? But my biggest thing right now, what we're talking about, is can we get to the next level of it all? Like, get to the next level of it all. You know what I'm saying? One good deal could change your whole financial scope.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't want us to be as long as we did last time. Reg, you're the one to give the final closing thoughts tonight. So, what are they?
Well, I think it's been a great discussion as far as about, with depression and things of that nature. I think we touched on some real good points. I think you kind of brought things to a close in there, just saying, for us as a people, for us as Black men, and I think it's really time for us to make sure that we're putting in the work, not just working harder, working smarter, educating ourselves on the things that we need to do. And if that means modeling, the success or modeling the behavior that we see those that are successful doing, then that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that we're not letting pride keep us from, being, financially, stable, from getting to that place of just being, just being able to get by, to being wealthy, to be able to provide for generations to come, leaving a legacy of not just, love and leadership and everything and that, but having that financial, leadership or financial legacy that we can leave for our people. So I think it's time for us as young black men, as middle-aged black men, as older black men, just to really, pull it together and come together. I mean, we can do it. I think us being in competition, having this mindset of if I have to compete against my brother, or I have to kind of try to drive a better car or live in a bigger house or have something better than my brother, instead of us having that mindset of like, look, we can do this thing together, us pushing each other along and not being our worst enemies at times. Now, of course, the oppression and the systemic racism and stuff is out there. But if we put our focus on building up our communities, building up our households, getting the information and the mindsets that need to be changed within us and in our communities, then like you said, there's nothing that can stop us. We don't have to get to anybody's table. We'll be building our own tables. We'll be building our own corporations, and people will have to come to us. So I think that's our challenge, to have that shift in our mindsets and just how we, conduct ourselves. So those day-to-day habits, if you've been having a certain mindset up to this point, if today or tomorrow going forward, you shift that and be like, okay, let me change my focus and start doing the work and start building in a different way and building a better way, people will come alongside you, and help you reach that dream and that goal that you're trying to reach. I think it's just on us though, every day. So change, grow, every single day, just try to be better and just make sure that we're doing it, not doing it alone, not having that Lone Ranger mindset. Everybody needs somebody to help push them along. And I think if we do it together, we'll go far.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think we can end with that. And I just want to encourage all of you guys, man, to make sure you keep serving one God. Always look around with those two eyes and check out the three kings. Man, y'all have a blessed night. We love y'all. Appreciate y'all. God bless.
God bless.
Take care.